Hello, hi. As you guys may know, May is Cystic Fibrosis Awareness Month. So I wanted to make a video kind of talking about my more day-to-day experiences with cystic fibrosis. And I'm currently Kitty Pryde for an X-Men stream for charity. We're currently doing Mutant May, and we're highlighting some fundraisers using the X-Men as a conduit. Welcome to the video. So this part of the day is my 12 p.m. treatment. I did do it at 1 p.m. because I had the charity stream coming up and I didn't want my treatment schedule to impact while I was on live. I know you guys have seen me use this vest. For those of you who don't know what it is, this is a respiratory vest machine, commonly referred to as airway clearance therapy, and it inflates and shakes my body and forces mucus out. The inhaler that you see me hitting right now, that is Xopenex. It is basically a medication that opens the airways, and the nebulizer that I'm doing right now is hypertonic saline, which breaks up the mucus that is inside of my lungs. For cystic fibrosis patients, our mucus is very thick and it is very hard to get out. So this entire treatment is meant to expand the airways, break the mucus up, and then force the mucus out so it is easier to get it out of my system. These treatments in their entirety can last from 45 minutes to an hour depending on what the treatment is. Sometimes I take more than one nebulizer. This is my afternoon treatment, so it's not a full routine treatment, so this one was around 45 minutes. Cystic fibrosis is a condition that affects you when the seasons change. So I'm typically at my sickest from the months of October to February. I went ahead and clipped it to the end because you guys get the point. I gotta disinfect these. I'm already shaking, but this is the inhaler that makes me shake like crazy. So the shaking is about to like triple. Yeah, baby. So with cystic fibrosis, I have to eat a double portion diet minimum to kind of keep extra weight on in case I get sick, as well as my body has a hard time absorbing nutrients. So I have to triple what goes in to get the basis amount out of it, if that makes sense. I ate something that had a little bit of oil this morning, and as a result, my stomach is in terrible, horrible pain, which is also something that happens with cystic fibrosis. For cystic fibrosis bodies, fruits and vegetables are some of the only things that won't extremely disrupt or hurt my stomach processing it. I have medication to help with that. One of the medications that I usually take I'm not on right now because it's very expensive and I'm having healthcare issues. So therefore I have to be very, very, very cautious of what goes into my body so I don't have a terrible time for the rest of the day or even week. So that being said, I need to eat really badly, especially since we're about to have a stream and I'm not going to be able to eat for like an hour or two. And so I'm eating carrots with ranch. So right now I am about to go live with Cosplay Care Project for our X-Men trivia stream. Like I said, this is Mutant May, so everything we're doing in May is X-Men related. Our trivia stream is going to have proceeds that are going to St. Jude for cancer research and for children's medical research, and we're going to be having trading cards that are coming out in the next few days that have been very, very fun to pull really awesome cosplayers together, and that is going to be going towards Not a Phase, which is a UK group for trans rights, and I really like that it's called Not a Phase, if you know anything about Kitty Pryde. But as we were talking about when we were deciding where we were going for May and how we wanted it to be X-Men themed, there are a lot of issues surrounding trans rights and a lot of discrimination right now, and the X-Men were created and have always been an allegory for those kinds of discrimination and prejudice, so it felt only right. While I'm waiting for the Cosplay Care Project stream to start, I thought it would be interesting to list off some facts about cystic fibrosis, as not a lot of people know much about it. That being said, cystic fibrosis is a genetic disorder and it is a rare and progressive disorder. When I was young, I'm sure the terminology has shifted now, so I don't know how often people say it, but when I was young, it was referred to as the snowflake disease because no two people have the same exact set of symptoms. That being said, cystic fibrosis does primarily affect the lungs, the pancreas, the stomach, pretty much all of the internal organs. My sister has cystic fibrosis. She was diagnosed the same year as me, and she experiences little to no symptoms, whereas I have been hospitalized for over 2 weeks twice a year since I was diagnosed, I'd say, and beforehand. As of right now, there is no cure for cystic fibrosis. There is breakthrough treatments. The treatments that are available have expanded the life expectancy for cystic fibrosis patients from around 40 years old to 80 years old, although the life expectancy that has been increased is for the people that have been born after these developments. For the people that were born prior, their life expectancy is still the expected range that I mentioned. One of the more interesting facts that I like to dangle in front of people about cystic fibrosis is that we are literally salty. There was an ad campaign in the 1980s, and it was "Kiss your baby." If your baby is salty, they may have cystic fibrosis. This is me reading off of Google, so I'm about to sound very professional. The reason that we are salty is because our bodies fail to properly reabsorb salt through the sweat glands. Our bodies produce everything much thicker than other bodies, that being mucus, sweat for an example. I remember being a kid and running around when I did do public school for the short time that I did, and I would literally be able to dust off salt. Another thing with cystic fibrosis is that it is the kind of disease that kind of opens the door to more problems. One common issue that I've dealt with and a lot of people have dealt with before is the fact that we are very susceptible to diabetes. There's specifically cystic fibrosis related diabetes, which I've been diagnosed with. While I'm speaking about other people with cystic fibrosis, another interesting fact is that, like I said, no two people have the same symptoms or diagnosis, and because of that, no two people have the same gunk building in their lungs. For most people, the concept of staying 6 feet and wearing a mask was introduced around 2020. For me, that was every single time I stepped foot in my doctor's office since I was diagnosed. People with cystic fibrosis are unable to meet each other in person. However, I have some lovely friends that I've known over the years on the internet that have CF, and I'm happy to know them at least. Other things that cystic fibrosis patients can experience is extreme sleepiness, which is something that I experience. I get fatigued extremely easy. I have to limit the amount of conventions that I go to because it takes it out of me. I basically need a week of recovery after I do a weekend of a con, if that makes sense. Other things that I've had to deal with is I cough up blood pretty frequently. I was given a port catheter through my chest that I had for about 5 years. Unfortunately, I do still cough up blood, but I was put on a very specific medication to see if that would be curved or at least decreased, and it has on the bright side. Alongside that, there are breakthrough medications that have been deeply impactful and helpful. I've personally noticed that it happens more often when I'm stressed or when I push myself too much. So when I say that I spend a week recovering from a convention after I spend 3 days at a convention, it's true. If I hop back into something right after I've sat down and taken a break, it is very likely that I will cough up blood. I think it's important for me to explain, since my symptoms are much more severe than others, why I am the way that I am, and other people who do not have the energy or time to post and talk about it or don't have the words to discuss it. A dear mutual of mine, CF Warrior Project, who has unfortunately passed away, spent his entire life advocating for, fighting for, educating and sharing facts about cystic fibrosis, and so I'd like to think that every time I share a little bit more about the disease, I am honoring him in a way. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that if you don't know anything about CF, you walked away knowing a little bit more. And if you do know CF, I'm happy that I could share facts about something that you've already dealt with. I've had people come up to me at conventions and express that they knew somebody with CF who'd passed away and that they appreciate what I'm doing by sharing it. And so while I'm here, I would like to make it everybody else's problem. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm gonna go do my trivia stream now, and I hope you guys have a good day.